Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be part 3 of the modifications that I've made to Sumo, and so let's get started with that right away. One of the first modifications that I made to Sumo was this Perun rack here on the back. The original is a plastic with handle mounts. You can take all that stuff off, but it just wasn't sturdy enough for what I was interested in. For long distance travel and off-road travel. This Perun rack is very well built. It is relatively thick. I want to say it's probably just a little over a quarter of an inch thick. In its thickness, it's been cut out for numerous strapping situations or luggage situations that you want to put, and it's an easy installation. The only problem that I had on the installation is that I think these front screws, if I remember right, were just a little bit long, and I had to grind those off and cut those off. And the reason I chose the Perun rack over a lot of other racks out there that are probably just as equally efficient is that it kind of kept the shape of the original rack. So if you're running without any type of luggage on it, it keeps the look of the bike looking similar to the way it is from the factory. One of the more recent additions, modifications that I've made to the bike was after a few thousand miles, I decided that the stock seat on it just wasn't comfortable enough. And I wanted to get something that was more comfortable so that I didn't fatigue too terribly hard off going down the road. And so I did a lot of research, and I settled on this seat concept seat. It's a lower version of what the stock seat would be, which helps a little bit with ground reach if you're shorter in leg. I could use the regular seat, but this one just makes it all the more comfortable. This seat, I can't say enough nice things about the comfort of this thing, and I can't say enough nice things about the company itself. I had several phone conversations with them, and their customer service was just excellent. I put seat concept seats up there as highly regarded. They're expensive, but I don't think you would regret it. And just like on Maisie, my wife's bike, the Yamaha XT250, underneath the cover here I have put a butt buffer pad in there. It's a polymer pad, and so that adds just to the comfort. Since replacing the seat, I've had absolutely no problems with fatigue or any problems that are associated with an uncomfortable saddle. One thing that I noticed with the KTM 790 Adventure R, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that the air box is right underneath the seat or not, but it transfers a lot of heat up through the seat, and it doesn't take too terribly long until your bum feels like it's on fire. And to try and counteract that a little bit, my wife and I both bought what we could find on the internet is the least expensive sheepskin here. And then my wife, we went ahead, they didn't come pre-cut or pre-designed, they were just raw skins, and we cut them down, and then my wife sewed on some elastic strapping here so that we can take these sheepskin covers on and off the bike in case it rains, to preserve them and just store them in a dry bag if it's raining. But that should take care of that heat problem and isolate it so that we don't feel that near as much in our bum. The KTM 790 Adventure R doesn't come with a very sturdy bash plate, and so that's a pretty common item that I think most owners will replace pretty directly. I'm sure KTM did that just to reduce weight, but to do proper off-roading, you need something that's going to be a lot more sturdier than what KTM came with the bike. And so I did a lot of research on this because there were not a ton of options right to begin with, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of them started coming out, and I found this company called Black Dog, and I reviewed their product and made the decision to get that bash plate. This thing is built like a tank. It's exceptionally sturdy. I've already tested it and had no problems with it. If you go back and watch one of my other videos where I describe how I dropped the bike into a hole and came out the other side. But one of the selling features of the Black Dog bash plate is the way it's designed and the ease of its removal. The nice part about it is that with just a few bolts, you can drop the whole plate off, but basically leave the mounting portion of it on the bike. So if you need to change the oil, it's pretty easy to change the oil. And probably the biggest selling point is the fact, if you can see it right here, is that the back of the bash plate hooks up to where the KTM would normally put a center stand. It eliminates your possibility that you can put the bike on a center stand, but it gives that bash plate a rock solid mount for impacts if you happen to take an impact. And I don't know of other bash plates out there that are designed as such to be able to transfer that energy from a really hard hit into basically the frame section of the bike, like the Black Dog does. So this Black Dog bash plate, in my mind, is probably one of the best on the market. To the observant viewer here, you might notice that one of the modifications that I've done to the bike too is I've removed the passenger pillions. They're completely gone on both sides. The reason I did that is because they stuck out so far, and I was afraid that if I dumped the bike or crashed the bike, that would just be something for my leg to get caught on and potentially cause more injury than what just a simple fall would cause. So I went ahead and removed those. Just a word of caution, if you're going to attempt to remove the passenger foot pegs from the KTM, you'll have to remove the muffler because you don't have enough room for tools to get that off. Removing the muffler is pretty simple. There's a screw in the rear here that you remove, and then down below here there's a clamp. So you remove those two items, the muffler section pops right off, and then you can get your tools in and remove those passenger foot pegs. And for the last item on this particular video of modifications that I've made is to the foot pegs here. I bought the Adventure 1 IMS foot pegs, and they've proven to be really good. Not that there's not a lot of other foot pegs out there, but these appear to be like a cast stainless steel, and then they're painted extremely rugged, and they won't be nearly as suspect to damage from an impact like aluminum ones would be. I think they'll just be more impact resistant with the stainless steel. These are an extremely large foot peg, which allows more comfort while you're standing up. But I've also found that they're long from here to here, and that length makes it a little bit harder to put your feet down on the ground if you're short in the leg. So if you're buying a adventure style foot peg that has a wider foot peg to it to provide more comfort, I would suggest that you keep the length of it more to about the 3.5 inch range to about 375, and not as wide as what this one is. It's probably really not necessary. It's really comfortable. If you put your foot to the outer side of the foot peg, you can use it more leverage as far as balancing goes, but I'm just not sure it's absolutely necessary for comfort. The width is what's more important than the length of it. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this part 3 of modifications made to Sumo. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again. Take care.